Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Babi Actif page. It's Friday morning and we're just about to start our 6 months to 12 months postnatal Pilates fitness session. So I'm just going to give a few minutes to come on. I'm going to grab a drink. Start here. Good morning, how are we all? We would love to know at Babi Actif if you're enjoying the workouts. We would love to know if you're finding them useful, and what's the best time of day for you to come back and do these workouts? That's a really good question that I'd like to have the answer to. Hi, Jess, how are you? What time of day are you doing any replays of the sessions, Jess, or are you coming in and this is your set time? So I know a lot of mums walk the babies at this time, don't they, after being up very, very early or through the night, and then they tend to go out at this time of day to get, depends on the age of the baby, to get a nap in the morning. So I'm just wondering if people are watching it, those who've watched it on replay. So if you are watching it on replay, can you let us know when you've watched it and what time of day it is, so we can begin to get a little bit of an insight into how the Babi Actif sessions are being used in the virtual world. So let us know. It'll be good to know. Yeah. So this morning, if you're joining me, looks like you'll be coming in a minute for a workout. I've got some books today, some quite heavy books. So what I've done is stuffed them into my son's rucksack. This is an old recycled rucksack that I use in the outdoor classes. And what I do is just load it up with some books. So let's see who's joining me. Give me a wave and let me know if you're joining me so I can talk to you. Can you grab yourselves a rucksack? Just something that's got, resembles this shape. Don't worry if you haven't got it, not a problem. We've been doing work with cushions, anything weighted. So I'm going to just load these up whilst you're logging on. I've got some heavier books and I've got a heavier piece of material in here. So I'm just going to put those into the rucksack. And I'm going to use those for one of the exercises today. So this is our, as I say, the 6 months plus, 6 months to a year postnatal. So this isn't a beginner session today. We're working on how, I'm fine, thank you, Jess. Yes, so watching it on replay, yeah. Brilliant, thanks for letting me know that. It's really useful information, thank you. So for today's session, so this is not the beginner session. This session assumes that you are fully healed, you have no health concerns whatsoever, and you're feeling well in yourself. We're using today a weighted rucksack. We're going on the floor to finish off at the end, and there is an option for you to use your something stretchy. So you've probably got used to your stretchy materials by now. Grab something that's stretchy. I know some ladies are using support stockings that are in their first aid kit, which are very elasticated and quite stretchy. The idea is that it doesn't have to feel like it's giving you that lactic acid burn when you're doing these exercises. We just want to integrate the feeling of the movements, giving you that feedback through the movement. So don't worry if you're not feeling, particularly challenged with pulling the band. Where the effort lies is deep into the connective tissues and also neurologically as well. So we're getting that feedback through the body, and then that brings the much more awareness, and that traction through the muscle gives you a better workout, better response. So yeah, something stretchy that you like. I'm not too keen on people using bungees personally, so think about making the equipment that you're using completely safe as well. It's got to be said. And I think we'll get ready to go. Yeah, it's about 4 minutes in on my clock, so I'm going to put this to the side. We're starting off standing up, and we're also getting ourselves ready to look at our breathing again, for our posture, and then we'll finish off today with our chats. So if you have got a drink handy, that's useful, because then you can come straight back from the floor and lying down, taking a pit stop, or maybe you've got a toddler lying on top of you, or maybe you're attending to baby and then joining back in for the chats. You can also prop this up, can't you, whilst you're carrying on doing something that's quite mindless, and then pick up some of the talks at the end. So if you feel that that's better than just sitting statically and then picking up the information, that's also fine. So thank you for joining me. Let's get started. See how we go. Jess, you're there with good audio, so I've got some music here, so you can tell me how this music is sounding as well. I'll pop over to the screen and I'll do a sound check. All right, so it's thinking about, I'm getting up off the floor now, so I'm going to get myself up without using my hands. My equipment sorted. I've got a space today, the windows are open, curtains are drawn to give me better brightness on here. Just take a posture to start with. Take your shoulders up and down. Just take them up and down. Forwards and then back. Forwards and then back. Forwards and then back. One more time, just up and down. Up and down. Up and down. Up. And just notice how they lay, your hands by your side. And then back. And then forward. So just opening up that chest and shoulder area. Saying hello to those muscles if you've had a long night of feeding or changing. Let's just take one at a time. And then we'll take it back and around. Allow your body to become soft in the middle here. So just bring attention to your knees, natural foot placement, nice and relaxed. So just go around in a circle, no particular choreography. We're not trying to keep up to any rhythms, we're just bringing attention into how our body is feeling. Let's do both shoulders. So to make this bigger, up, back, down, around. Bigger every time. Bigger, and then we do full circles. Full circles forward. Full circles back. Fabulous. Just going to check out that message. No message, no new message. Alright, so foot placement. Now you might want to bring your hands onto your hip bones. Take a foot. This is my left, your right. Now we're going to do some pointing. See what this feels like. Here we go. Front, side, front, back. Front, side, front and back. Squat it out. That shoulder off. And notice how you transfer the weight from one side to the other. So we do that again. So take your right side and point. Point, side, soften this knee. Point and back. So just with awareness that you're loading your body with that leg. Here, my favourite move. Think of a favourite move for all my groups. Roll those shoulders back into place, set your posture up. You could feel your shoulders level on your hips. Do that again. I'm going to offer an arm line, see if you like it. We'll do a couple more of those. We'll do some arms like this, just without the Pilates breath, just getting you moving. This is at chest level, yeah? arms back there, try and get some activation between shoulder blades here and on the tricep on the return. Same again, your right side. Squeeze shoulder blades. Soften that supporting leg. Intention in your movement there. Push back, tricep, activate. Squat. Reach up as far as you can this time. One more time with these arms. A bit brighter if you feel already a little bit brighter here. I hope you enjoy these lovely flowing movements. Other leg, lightly point and tap. Last time. Just have 4 big squats. Slow. I want you to really extend through your fingertips as if rays of sunshine were shining out of them today. Look at that gorgeous sunshine we've got today. If you're watching on replay, brightly shine those fingers. One more. Bring your hands to your hips. Fabulous. Fabulous stuff. Alright, we're doing good. Let's pelvic tilt. Just a few. Just feel where your pelvis is today. Just slow it down. So just feel where, imagine you've got a tail attached to your coccyx. Look through your legs, picking it up. One more. And then aim to just rest your tail on the earth. So feel as if your shoulders are stacked, your tail is resting on the earth. Notice if you can feel the same in that same position, long through the spine. I've taken my feet up either side of the width of my mat. And then rocking side to side. So my feet are on the floor, my feet are flat on the floor, my feet are angled out to the corners of the room. And just have a go at that. So adding a little bit of a shoulder roll. Have a go. Fabulous, just do 2. And 2 on the other side, so moving with intention, opening up. Just stay here for a little squat. So just feeling the knees opening up. The knees are angling out to the corners of the room here. Arms are coming out. If it feels good. So load the heel here. Just notice where your body's feeling loaded. So the knees, heels into the earth. You're not too deep here, you're working in your warm up. Let's just do the arms. And go side to side again. No shoulder roll, this time just fold your arms. Drop those shoulders down away from your ears. Present your chest forward. Fabulous. Stay here in the middle for some more plie squats. Let's use the arms. Just 2 more. Brightly spreading those fingers. Fingers beginning to feel a bit warmer. And then we're going to walk those feet in. Have a little march, we'll fidget. We're standing on one leg to prepare our balance. So this is where you might need a bit of balance support. Not a problem. So use something that's steady. Nothing with wheels on it. So if you happen to have a buggy around, if you're training outdoors watching this, put the brakes on the buggy when you're using it for any activities, unless it's a movable exercise. Transfer weight, rotate. See if you can get the hand, same as the foot. The small joints take up a lot of responsibility. Ankle is bearing all our weight all the way through our days and has endured through our pregnancy a lot of stress. So thinking about how you are through your pregnancy and thinking about footwear, getting the hands to go the same way. In terms of footwear during your pregnancy, your feet will grow. You can imagine you've got like a grape and you're putting pressure on it and squashing down, and that little spread that you get in the grape or in a balloon as you push down. So that means that your feet will spread a little bit, maybe not too much, varies, could be up to 6 millimetres. So what we want to be aware of is that as you're reducing weight and you're coming back to your pre-pregnancy weight gradually over that recovery in the year, your trainers won't have the same support. So we recommend getting yourself some good supportive trainers when you're exercising, particularly if you're thinking about moving on and, well, just doing long walks, because you need that extra support. So if you've been doing long walks, gradually as your weight is dropping off, make sure you tighten up your shoes a little bit and then get some new shoes, because the pre-pregnancy ones won't support you in your postnatal recovery. You really don't want to be wearing them a year after you've had baby, because you definitely have changed shape then, and you want to get maximum support, of course, on your feet. Okay, so here I think we feel warmed up. I feel quite warmed up. I feel happy there. So we're going to start off with some sets of lunges today. I'm going to give you some options with your hands. So if you have a band, so I want you to grab it and we'll start to work here. So grab a band or a piece of rope. So here's my long rope. My daughter's been playing with, clearly. So just keeping it soggy and pulling. So just use your rope or your band and activate through the shoulders. We're going to revise that Pilates breath. We're going to link that into the movement. So standing up tall, find your shoulder placement, find your neutral pelvis alignment, softening the knee so you can feel the full length of your spine there. Really lengthen through. And then what I want you to do is inhale. Inhale is through the rib cage, and then remembering that we're not doing the belly breath. We started on the 6 weeks, the 6-month session on Tuesday with the belly breath. We're going to finish with the belly breath today. So Pilates breath isn't the belly breath, it's in through the ribs, whilst keeping this area from blowing out. So we'll just do 3 of those. So bring your hands to here, feel the expansion, or you can test it here if you like. Drop your shoulders for revision purposes. Inhaling, exhaling, blowing out the candle on the exhale. When you're ready, just go. Inhale. Fabulous. And try not to breathe to my belly coming out when I'm breathing in. When I'm breathing out, blowing the candle, there's that deep activation. Try it with the arms. Inhale. In. In. So lovely work. If you're keeping your shoulders down and you're feeling that breath work, keep the breath work. If the breath work isn't working out for you today, it doesn't feel quite right, just do the movements. Now I'm going to combine that movement with your lunge. So your lunge is a straightforward lunge. So if you're wobbly, you're taking your foot a natural stride forward. Knees are bending equally from front to back knee. And I'm pushing off that front foot. What I want you to do is think about your set. So we're going to work for 30 seconds. And people who are feeling that they're more progressed in their coordination, with or without the Pilates breath. And we'll do 30 seconds. Okay, so let's just try that to start with. See how you feel. Lift your head and shoulders. Ready? Any leg? Go! Push off from your front foot. Think about where the energy is driving through. Here. Pushing off through that heel is going to give you that activation to the back body, through your buttocks. A few more each leg brings us to 30 seconds. Notice your heart rate may be going up. And stop. That's 30 seconds. Check your posture. So I did that without the Pilates breath. Now I'm going to do it with the Pilates breath. And join me in it again for another 30 seconds, with or without your arm and your posture activation on top. Okay, hands on hips will do. I'm going to take a breath to prepare, and my 30 seconds are going to come here. Inhale. Blowing out the candle. Last one each leg. I can really feel that in my lower abdomen here where I'm exhaling to that point. And it's activating my deep transverse abdominal muscles, my core system, and my heart rate's gone up. So that's what we want. We want to increase the stresses on our body to stimulate adaptation and change. That's your first exercise. We're going to do another set of those. We'll do those straight away. So you can choose. If you want to carry on using thin air or your stretchy material, as you wish. Choose which exercise feels best for you. We're doing 30 seconds today. Have a go. 4, 3, when you're ready, go. Don't worry about the depth of your lunge. You stop if you feel you've done too much. Think about blowing the candle out as you push away from the floor. 2 more. Last one. Well done. Okay. Noticing heart rate. Notice where your body feels that it's been worked. Good stuff. So we want to work on standing arm and leg today. So drop your equipment here. So I'm going to take your body to this action. So if you need something to steady yourself with, use something to support yourself here. I'm going to give you a couple of options. We're going to do repetitions on this one. So let's do repetitions. We'll do 16 leg abduction and adduction. So notice that when I've taken my legs out, this knee's soft. Notice the pelvis. My bottom isn't sticking out too far. I've tried to keep myself lovely and level here. And then I'm going to introduce the arm line for those who want to do a little bit more. So if you're feeling this is enough for you, this is leg abduction, adduction, and this is building up. You can feel it. You can put your hands on your buttocks. You can feel that you are working those muscles, the muscles that surround the hip. Okay. Also the adductors here. And what's happening? The legs are activated through the quadriceps, and the pelvic floor is activated because it's connected to the adductor. So you're getting that extra work there, which is great. So what I want you to do is think about, do you need steady support? Are you okay with your hands on your hips? Can you lift and lower? Or do you feel like you need to tap down between every repetition? So just try a few. So you're trying with me now. So you might have a short lift. I don't mind how high you take your leg up at all. I'd rather that you didn't try and fling your leg up. So it's a controlled movement. And I'd rather that both your knees, your headlights and the torch shining forward, so you're not rotating your foot round. So I'm going to do 16 with a lift, just to prepare you on each side, and then I'm going to start using my arm with an upright position like this on the last 8, for those who want to try it, on the last 8. Okay, so we'll try it. Steady yourself, stop when you've done enough, inhaling to prepare, so it's big smiles. 5, 6, keeping that chest lifted. 7, try not to collapse here. 8, use the arm. 8, or just lift low. 6, nice erect spine. 4, wobbly, that's okay. 1 more for luck. And then squat. So let your belly go here. And feel that you can loosen off. Just focus on how your body can be lengthened through the movements, so you're avoiding feeling soggy in the middle, collapsing down through the spine. So try and keep yourself into as if you were wearing a very well-ironed shirt. Good. Feel recovered. So we do the other side. So we're tapping, lifting for 8. We're continuing for another 8 if you feel good and you want to incorporate the arm line. So we're working through the body, onto the obliques, onto our balance. So essential balance work here. Take a breath to prepare. I'm using my arm here. Soften this knee. 4, 3, 2, inhale here. Blowing out the candle here. Looking to feel these muscles coming away from the hand. 6, lift the chest. 7, 8, 8, 7, 6. Soften this knee. Exhaling. 4 more. Very, very still on top, using all these muscles. 3, 2, 1. Come into a squat. Let's do 8. Arms, push back. Let your belly go here. Let that belly go. Recovery breath. 4 more. 4. Stretch those hands out behind you. 3. A little bit deeper as you're warming through. Last 1. Reach behind a bit further this time. Fabulous. We do a small amount of recovery breathing, and we're just doing that with a calf raise. So just practice rocking forwards and back. So this is your balance section. We're doing fantastic. And what I want to do again is that second set of that exercise. This is your arm and leg adduction, abduction, and I'm using that for your balance and to control your movements and to give you that element of concentration, so a mental break from everything else. Alright, so if you feel that you are stable, steady, you can manage it with your arm up the whole time, have a go with the arm up the whole time, otherwise use full support for the 16 repetitions. And remember, there's no extra marks for trying to get your leg really high, and particularly when we do that exercise on the floor, we tend to see the sort of 80s leg flinging exercise, and that's not what the exercise is at all. So we want to work into control, and that's going to help you to get that stability through the pelvis, building up strength and endurance through your hips. Roll the shoulders. Hands on here if you want to feel that body working as you're using the Pilates breath, if that's what you're feeling is comfortable for you. Leg starts out here. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. You can reach up. Inhale to prepare. Let's go. 1, 2. I've added in that movement from the shoulder level. 3, 4. Soften that supporting leg. 5. Keep your thumb up. 6, 7, 8. Stop or carry on full arm line. 8, 7, 8. Relax your spine. Halo ready on your head. Reach up. Let's reach up one more time. Squat. Calf raise here if you can add on. And you do 8. This is not a Pilates breath, this is a recovery. I'm going to do 4 more, so it's an active rest. 4. Up onto my toes. I'm seeing if I can get onto the ball of my feet rather than my hips coming forward. Lift. Let's do 2 more. and relax. Roll those shoulders, prepare for the other side for me. Hand can come onto the abdomen or the hip, or support. Yeah, find your breath. We're inhaling to prepare. 4, 3, 2, inhale. Soften this knee. Arm can move if it wants to. Thumb up. Notice what's happening to that pelvic floor area. Just feel what's happening. 8, 7, 6, reach higher. 5, still if you can. 3, 2, 1 more. Take your legs wider, clear those legs. Big smiles. You're ready for some floor work now. Well done. We have got an exercise before we go onto the floor with our guest today. Nearly forgot then. So what I'm going to do on these 6 months to 12-month sessions, grab yourself a drink, is do a guest exercise every week. So you'll see me doing similar exercises week to week, improving on those and increasing and progressing within those. And then you'll see me adding in a guest exercise. And today's guest exercise is the bent over row. So the bent over row that we've been doing with thin air or a band, I'm progressing. So I've got your extra weight today. So if I just do 30 seconds of this with you today, your exercise we've been using is this bend to extend pattern, isn't it? So you can see knees are soft. So this is about your back extensors. Working on the posture again. These muscles are heavily used, of course they are, the bending and flexing that we do as mums. So we're just working on supporting that action with the bent knee. That's all, just a slight bend knee. Just feel where you're getting that workload. And then what we're going to do is come up with an upright row. For those who want to. So I'm going to do 30 seconds. Let's just do 3 to prepare. Roll the shoulders. Yeah. Let's do 30 seconds. You can have thin air on this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I'm just feeling. So this is preparing you for lifting. I want you to think about your exhaling here. And then your pelvic floor activity here on this upward phase. Take your elbows as high as you like. Integrate your upper back work. Last one. And relax. Well done. Guest exercise done. Fabulous. We're going to go on the floor. Alright, well done for trying that one. Little snippets of things that you can do with your own equipment at home. Integrating that to when you're outdoors, when you're walking, baby. You've probably got things like that with you. You can always stop and sneak in, crowbar in a little bit of an extra activity. Very simple, easy one to use outdoors. Okay, so here, floor exercises. So let's check out how you're getting down to the floor, ladies. Are you a mum who is happy coming down like this? Great, sorting out the buggy, coming up again, yeah? So avoiding coming into the buggy like this, sorting the buggy out, and then coming up like that. Every time bend the legs, yeah? As we come down. So that's one way, and then the other way we've been working on is a lunge. You can do that forwards or back. So if you're going backwards to lunge, just have a go. You know that one. Jess, you've been practicing that. I hope you're not using your hands. So we're coming down without using hands. We're going to work here today in the hover. So my shoulders and my posture on the floor is what I'm working with today. So I'm just going to get you to come into here and feel your position. So I want to feel that I've got your hands placed under your shoulders. So I want you to feel that I've got a view of myself here into the tablet so I can see what I'm doing, but I want you to feel yours. So you've gone onto all fours, you feel long through the neck, and what I want you to do is just roll your shoulders. Just present that chest forward. Rock forwards and back. Put something under your knees if the floor is feeling really uncomfortable under your knees, or fold a blanket up or roll your mat underneath your knees. And the other thing I want you to do is walk your hands away from where you think your shoulders are. So can you see that my hands are away from my shoulders? Then walk them back. And then put them where you think they're underneath your shoulders. So you now got 90 degree angle, flex on your wrist. Fingers are spread out brightly. Just feel how you're loading through the spine. Then walk your knees up to your hands. That shouldn't feel painful or uncomfortable. If it does, we're not going to do that again. Roll the shoulders, feel the length of your spine here. So I'm just going to adjust mine, so I'm going to really paddy bit of my mat. And I'm thinking about hip width, beyond hip width, if feels more comfortable for you. It's your cat-cow. Just releasing any tension. Hopefully you're doing this movement every day. Remember that tail we talked about? So do a couple more. Feel that you've got your tail flicked up here, and then put your tail between your legs. One more. And then find a neutral position. And then what I want you to do, tuck your toes under, and I want you to lift your knees off the floor so that I can slide a mobile phone under the knees. That's all. And I want you to do it on an out breath. We're going to do it 6 times. Roll your shoulders. So Pilates breath is optional. If you've got that skill, got that technique down pat, use it. Otherwise, just exhale to lift. So we go inhale, inhale. Just a smidge, just to lift your knees over the mobile phone that's sliding under your knees. Inhale, 3, 4, hardly moving at all. Trying not to move my hips at all. 5, neck is long. 6, keeping your body very, very still. And release. Set back down your body onto your heels. Reach forward. Rest your hands on the earth. If it feels not quite right in your lower back, just allow yourself to use 2 potatoes under your head. A cushion is also good here if you're using this to relax your body. Particularly good to come down and do this after doing activities on the floor with your little one. Okay, so we are finishing off our session. I'm just going to take my leg back and have a calf stretch so you can see me. Stretch out that calf there. How long are our stretches? Why do we stretch? We're stretching mildly to just release any tension that's built up through the muscle through our work. And we're stretching for 3 to 5 inhalations of breath. That's always good. Roll the shoulders 1 or 2 times. And then push your toes. I'm going to push ourselves up today, just once into our downwards dog. So tuck the toes underneath. And then what we do is push your strong through your arms, bend those knees, and as slowly as you can, come up. Press through the heels, and then come back down. Fabulous. Sit back onto your heels 1 more time. This time take your hands, if you can get your head to the floor, put your legs wide, come down to the earth. Again, if it feels too much on your back today, I just want you to bring your head, elevate your head. We want to make all of our movements feel really yummy. If you've got quite a mobile spine today, just reach back onto your hands and your feet and let your shoulders round to take the shape of your thighs here. We're going to take
3 breaths in. This is completely relaxing into our belly. Bring your hands back to a supported position. Just elevating the head really slowly, particularly if you have low blood pressure. Just rising, slowly transitioning from floor to kneeling. Sitting back on your feet. I'm just going to take my shoulders up, back, down and round to unwind from our exercise. I'm also going to reach to my feet, put my palms onto my feet. Or you can brightly spread your fingers, template them and drop your shoulders here. So I'm really feeling the back extending here and awareness that we're not bulging or protruding along the midline here. It's quite a comfortable move. It's an extension, drawing the shoulder blades down. If you feel like you want to go a little bit deeper here, just bring your hands, interlocking the fingers and coming down. And we're trying to counterpose the postures that we have as mums. We're trying to avoid folding ourselves into exercises which encourage us to collapse down into the front of the body, particularly if we're only exercising a couple of times a week. So from here, reaching up into the side. One more time. To the other side. And then I'm going to come back up. I'm going to twist myself around to see you to the front. We're finishing off. I want to stretch out your hamstrings here. So we're on time. So what I would like to do is offer you a couple of different hamstring stretches. So if you feel that you want to join me with some balance work, so this again requires a bit of balance. So you can use 2 items either side of you or your sofa. This is for your hamstring. So you might need to use something to steady yourself here. So this is a lovely stretch for your hamstrings. So thinking about your posture and then just collapsing forward into forward flexion. Don't worry too much about if you're rounding the shoulders here. Just make sure that you're feeling you've got a good stretch between the knee and the hip. For those of you who want to carry on the floor, I encourage you to do 3 to 5 breaths on that. Just have a go at folding yourself forward and use this with a rounded posture. So come out of your shoulder alignment here on purpose and just reach to your body. Don't worry how far you go. This isn't about improving your flexibility. This is about releasing tension through the body. So you're going to do your 3 breaths there. Okay, so I'm going to come up and do my other leg. So if you're still kneeling and supported by your sofa, do the other leg. So two stretches, 2 go-tos. We'll do some stretching in the chair next week. I'll put a sequence of stretching on the chair. You can use those stretches out on the park benches. Okay, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready to do a little bit of a breathing exercise to finish. We'll rehearse the belly breath and then we'll move into our questions. I hate you feeling that you've had a good workout. You've done some balance work, some lovely strength work, or work focused on improving your posture and just giving you some vitality, de-stressing, ready for your day. Well done. So let's do our breathing together. Have a little sip of a drink if you need one. I do. So I'm just going to sit on my cushion. I'm going to cross my legs. It feels good for me to cross my legs. You can kneel. And we'll just start off with just becoming aware here again. scamming the body. You may have baby sitting in between your lap. You may have baby sleeping next to you. You may have an animal or a baby and a toddler, all vying for your attention right now. So if you have to come back and do this short mini mindfulness practice, then please watch on replay anytime you feel free. We've been working on the belly breath, and today we are going to notice the rising and falling of the chest. So I want you to think about breathing into your belly, so inhaling up to your tummy, and then feeling as if it's rising, so that we'll do 3 rounds of breath, 3 cycles of inhaling and exhaling, and we'll notice that we're filling here as we draw and pull in the air around us in through our nose, pulling that air in, and then noticing that we begin to fill up into this top area of our body. So to encourage you to do that, if you like counting and you find it's easy for you to count and concentrate on the inhalation and the exhalation, you can employ that as well. If not, we're just noticing the physical sensation of the air coming in and out of the body. So we could breathe in for maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and then we could exhale for a little bit longer, so maybe 5 or 6 seconds, or even 7. So don't worry too much about the numbers, but just do 3 cycles of breath, and you choose whether you want your hands relaxed, so lifting up your posture. Imagine you have a halo on your head. I'm going to go that way. Gazing down to the floor, or closing your eyes if that feels good for you. So 3 full breaths, noticing this rising and falling. When you're ready, begin. Wow, that is so calming. So in my experience of that exercise, I was connecting to a slower breath firstly, and then as I was connecting to a slower, fuller inhalation, I felt that I thought that I might be trying to control the rising and falling of my belly, and then try and control this expansion in my chest. So I thought that I was going to try and make the two work together with an effort of some kind. But then as I began to follow the full breath and guiding with a counting, and I wasn't really stuck on a particular count. I wasn't really sharply focused on the numbers. I was focusing on slowing down the inhalation. So I was going for a 3 or 4 on the inhalation, and then 6 or 7 on the exhalation, but they weren't targeted with accuracy. There was just an awareness of that. And then as I was doing that, in that process, and conscious of my posture and the softening within my body and the breath work, I did notice that it was happening on its own. So remembering that we're connected through our bodies in all of our bones and tissues and blood and muscles. None of those things work in isolation. They're constantly feeding back through our system. And then with the breath, that's working in its own rhythm, and it's helping. For me, it's calming me and my nervous system if I allow my presence with my mind to be with the breath. So that was what my experience was on that, and I did feel very, very calm, very internal with my thinking, and so shutting out the external noise, which I can now still hear, but I wasn't really distracted during those 3 breaths. So that's a really lovely practice to do. It works really well with children as well. They like to count. So to make it simple for any little people in your life, if you want to move this practice on to suit them, this is about awareness of the breath, and this practice is about, I'm using this belly practice particularly because it's useful for tension in the body, and when we're working with Pilates, to recognise how the body is moving with the breath. So that's why we started with that one. So with the children, we'll just go into this one, and then we can have a short talk. So a lot of children have been doing this at school. So we have through our curriculum with the children, if you've got school age children, we have got a huge push over the last couple of years to work with mindfulness in schools, which is fantastic. It's been a long time coming, and I'm so grateful that many schools now have mindfulness practices. Sometimes they have them in the assembly at the beginning of the day. Some have got the actual bell ringing, mine's over there, as part of their lesson time. These are just very simple mindfulness practices. Some of them have them with in their PE. I've been into schools and delivered mindfulness through yoga. So it is fantastic that these practices that are helping us to encourage meditation effectively and encourage awareness of our senses are happening. So this one might look familiar to you. So you can inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale according to your breathing pattern. So I'm just going to do that once. I'm going to do it as slowly as I can, and don't worry if you finish before me, or if you drop something and you're distracted and you have to pick this up later. It's just a lovely practice to do anywhere, sitting at a park bench. You can do it queuing up, you can do it visually in your mind, whilst you're queuing up at the post office, you're social distancing. We tend to be more anxious about waiting in spaces. Queuing and being patient now is going to be part of our everyday lives moving forward through COVID. We're going to have social distancing in place for a very, very long time, all over the world. So this is a great way to start building resilience to the anxieties that are caused with us keeping spacing in communities, and I'm releasing off the frustration of, oh, now I've got to wait, I'm not in the queue, no, I want to get here, and all that kind of chatter that's happening. We can kind of give ourselves some tools to give us the pacing that we need and become more present so that we're less agitated. And of course, we'll be queuing up with children, so it's a great one to do. So join me if you want to. There's no time frame for this. There we are. How was that? So I remember the first time I practiced that exercise, and I was trying to hurry up to get over the fingers. I was really trying to, why was I trying to rush to get over them? There was a natural resistance, and that is very evident in all humans, is our resistance to change and our resistance to focus, and we have a natural instinct to control what we have going on around us, and that comes from drives, mindset drives, and it's a good practice for you. So if you notice that you already like, I want to hurry up and get over that bit there, or I'm racing to try and get myself further forward, or like there's this kind of tug out of the focus with the breath. So it's a really lovely practice. If you manage to concentrate even just for one finger, you get 10 points from me. And the trick is with the children to every time, and for yourselves, every time you get distracted from the focus of the inhalation in the coordination of the movement, you have to go back to the beginning. So I hope you enjoyed that one today. It's a really fun one to do. We've got a few minutes left, and I can see I'm not sure if I've got anyone watching, so I'm just going to carry on with a very short talk and get my notes ready. So we'll do a few minutes here. On Tuesday in the beginner, so the foundation of postnatal fitness is for 6 weeks to 6 months. We had a bit of assistance from Jenny. This is Miss Jenny Taylor. So she's just going to be here for a little bit every now and again helping out. So we're not going to go into the too much detail about. I'm going to get my cushion so I can get back on my knees with me. So we talked about the bones, and we talked a little bit about the pelvis and feeling our own pelvis. And today I just want to talk to you about our breathing, and what might be useful for you to know is that there are 3 layers on the pelvic floor. So when we say pelvic floor, we mean pelvic floors really. But this bit actually comes off, but I don't want to start taking that bit off. There's 2 layers here. So these are the 2 layers that form the sphincters of your body. So in your pelvic floor, these areas here are responsible for the opening and closing action of your sphincters. And there's a figure of 8 here that goes like this around. So if you can identify that, just having a little look at that, I'm placing it anatomically correct. So this is how it would be in our body. So we talked about the iliac crest, we talked about pubis symphysis, we talked about our ischium. So when you're sitting down, I sometimes get you to lift your buttocks away, feels like you're removing the flesh, and then sitting up. So that's the bit that we're sitting on, or you can rock from side to side to feel those, the bony bits. The hands are coming on your hips, and you can feel around your own body to really identify with this. I don't know if you enjoy anatomy or if you find it interesting, but I have always found it interesting, and I took triple science at school because I found biology really interesting. So it's something that I enjoy doing and learning. But here, for you, if you just have a look at, see if you can recognise those holes. We're gifted as women, we get the extra one. So we get that extra 3rd one there. And it's pretty similar on the men. But we're concentrating on ourselves. So just noticing that we've got there's 2 layers. There's this, and then there's 2 layers which present to you on the pelvic floors here, but then on the inside there's the levator ani. So this bit doesn't come out actually, but this bit inside, with other connective ligaments that reach up to the spine here and the sacrum. This bit inside is the bit that actually holds everything in. And so what I really want to draw your attention to on here today is the fact that when we are stressed, we clench our jaws, and that correlates to the myofascial lines in the body which connect us. So what you'll notice is some women through pregnancy develop, and just men, and just humans, tension through grinding teeth in the jaws, and biting. And this is something that people do when they're asleep as well, and that correlates to tension in your pelvic floor. So I wanted to tell you that today because when we're stressed, we tend to bite down or grip teeth, and you can do that when you're exercising your pelvic floor, or when you're lifting weights, or when you're moving furniture. You can not only hold your breath, but you can grit your teeth, and that pulls on your pelvic floor, and the tightness that we have in our pelvic floors is sometimes related to this line on the masseter on our jaw. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a, we're running to the end of our session now, so I'm going to just give you one exercise that can help you release tension in the pelvic floor, because you may notice throughout your day, that's a good little bit of homework for you, just through your day to day, just notice when you're, say, washing up at the sink, or you're doing something really mundane, standing, take a couple of breath cycles, use the belly breath, connect into the belly breath, and just notice what your status is. Check in with your status, and then notice if you're holding tension in your pelvic floor. So just notice if you're contracted as if you were doing exercise, but there's no need to be, and you can go in a sense of opening up. So a sense of you're contracted very tightly, and you know what that feels like because we've been doing pelvic floor stimulation and pelvic floor exercise. And then see if you can do the opposite. And we do practice the downward phase, the eccentric phase of the exercises as well. So just notice if you're actually just walking around all day just contracted, just check in, just go, oh yeah, I actually do. And I check myself quite a lot because I'm a very fast speaking person. I'm from southeast London, and I was sort of born into sixth gear, and I tend to be very kind of busy in my lifestyle as a mum anyway, and I notice that I'm contracting really hard in my pelvic floor for no reason whatsoever, and that can cause lots of tightness throughout the spine then, and throughout the fascia in your body, and cause headaches, and cause jaw ache, and that's something that we can be aware of as we begin to learn a little bit more about our pelvic floor. So just putting the tongue behind your upper front teeth, I'm going to take 2 cycles of breath to finish off today's session, and I just want you to notice if you can let your pelvic floor muscles drop down. So the downward phase of the pelvic floor exercises, just the 2 breaths to finish off today. We're keeping your tongue there. So there you have an exercise that can help you connect to hopefully what you felt there, what I felt there, was a relaxing sensation. I felt like there was a more the pelvic floors were going down. You know, that the idea that we have like an elevator and the pelvic floors come up through the elevator. You may have heard that, and then go down through the elevator. I felt like I was really kind of dropping down and releasing tension through my pelvic floors. So that today is the end of our session for our 6 months to 12 months postnatal Pilates fitness. I hope you've enjoyed it. I wish you well. I'm open to questioning at any time. I'm going to pop a link into the comments here, which talks a little bit more about the link between the pelvic floor and the jaw tension. It's also got some exercises in there that you might like to read up about if you're interested in any of that. I will see you next Tuesday. Also, I forgot to mention that my recommendations for your frequency of exercises before we go are whether it's just as a beginner, if you're returning to exercise, I recommend that you do the 2 beginners sessions, so the one from Emma and then the one from me, and then add on walks. So they're daily walks depending on how your recovery is and how your sleeping is, and they can also be gradiated walks, so you can have like a level 1 walk, a level 2 walk, a level 3 walk, and then you can pitch those as to in terms of distance or gradient away from your house as part of your everyday outing with baby. So 2 fitness sessions and 3 walks or 4 walks depending on how you are, and then the same for your 6 months.
to 12 months, you might like to do this session and then Emma's session, and then you could even go back and do an extra session, couldn't you, depending on your vitality. You could go back and pick up some of the tips from the 6 weeks to 6 months as well, and that could be 3 sessions, again depending on how recovered you are, and then use that in amongst your walk. So looking at more frequency from your 6 months to 12 months, and starting off gradually building up in your beginners postnatal fitness that first 6 months. So just starting off with the 2 classes, but that would be my recommendation for you. I'd love to know about your walks. I'd love to know about where you're exercising, if you're exercising outside with this tablet or device, or if you're doing it at home. Comment anytime, and I'll see you next Tuesday for my session 6 weeks to 6 months for the foundation of Pilates fitness for your postnatal recovery. Have a great weekend.